New Jersey, home of American Dream, Jersey Shore, and whatever this is. A beautiful state. But back in the early 1900s, New Jersey was famous for three things: farms, immigrants, and most of all, factories. Most of the factories in New Jersey at the time produced one of two things: silk or oil. And it was one company that stood high above the rest in oil production and refining. That company was the Standard Oil Company of New Jersey, and it was led by this man, John D. Archbold. Founded in 1870 by similarly named John D. Rockefeller, Standard Oil, Jersey Standard's parent company, quickly rose through the ranks of oil producers, eventually becoming the biggest oil company in the nation. By 1880, Standard Oil controlled the refining of 95% of oil produced in the U.S. Jersey Standard split off from Standard Oil in 1911, and by 1915, New Jersey was a hotspot for oil production and refining. However, it's not all good. Imagine you're a normal Polish-American immigrant. Let's say you're not that wealthy and you find work in an oil plant to provide for your family. You'll quickly find yourself working long hours, risking your life due to a lack of safety regulations, and working with literal children. You'll also find yourself facing discrimination because of your race, gender, or origin, and having little power to negotiate for better conditions. All for low wages of usually 20 cents per hour. Meanwhile, the owner of the plant gets ever wealthier off you and your fellow workers' hard work. These were the harsh realities that oil plant workers had to face in early 1900s America. Due to these poor working conditions, many workers formed unions and even went on strike, protesting for less working hours and higher wages. Employers counteracted these with tactics such as forcing workers to sign yellow dog contracts and hiring strikebreakers to stop or prevent unionization. Unions also had weak federal protection, which added to their usual failure in bringing about change. And none of that was more clear than right here, in Bayonne. The Standard Oil plant in Bayonne, established in 1877, was the city's largest employer, with around 6,000 employees. However, workers faced low pay and dangerous working conditions. The mayor of Bayonne at the time, Pierre P. Garvin, was also on Standard Oil's payroll as an attorney. On Thursday, July 15, 1915, a week before the strike, a request for a 15% increase in wages was denied by the plant owners, causing around 100 still cleaners to quit. Similarly, on July 19th, 900 Coopers quit after they received no response for an 11% increase, along with similar requests for increased wages and tolerable working conditions. Our demands aren't working. Whatever we try to do to improve our working conditions, the plant owners shut it down. It looks like there's only one more thing to do. You can't mean, oh yes, we are going on strike. Did someone say strike? Who are you? I'm Frank Tannenbaum, was a sociologist and a leader in the international labor union, the Industrial Workers of the World, or the IWW. Born in Austria on March 4, 1893, his family immigrated to the United States in 1905. He ran away from home as a teenager and got involved in the radical labor politics of the era. From January to March 1914, Tannenbaum led groups of workers to New York City churches, disrupting services and demanding that the workers be given food and shelter. He was arrested along with 190 other protesters on March 4th, spending the rest of the year in jail on Blackwell's Island. Upon his release, he remained active in the IWW, which eventually led him to Bayonne. On the morning of July 20th, 1915, around 300 to 400 men failed to report for work at the plant, causing the plant's general manager, George B. Gifford, to close the plant at 7 o'clock. When the number of absent workers grew to 1,400, Gifford decided to abandon all work. An hour after the work had halted, a riot broke out near the plant, which involved workers and several hundred women throwing bricks and stones at policemen. The policemen fired over the heads of the strikers, and the few strikers armed with guns were apparently poor marksmen. Despite this, the shooting caused the death of 19-year-old striker John Sterenczak. The riot eventually died down, with no action reoccurring until 6 o'clock. Hudson County Sheriff Eugene Francis Kincaid brought in 75 deputies to help deal with the strike, who added to the force of 150 policemen employed at the plant and 65 men of Bayonne's police force. Gifford also ordered 250 men from local professional strikebreaker Pearl Burgoff. Throughout the day of July 20th, more than 100 gunshots were exchanged among 50 policemen and around 1,200 strikers. The following day of the 21st, a mob attacked the adjacent Tidewater Oil Refinery in an attempt to set it on fire. The Tidewater plant workers were originally adamant to going on strike the previous day, but some joined the mob nonetheless. Several days of lawlessness followed. Streets were barricaded, people were beaten up, and even more mobs were confronted by police. Despite this, the governor of New Jersey at the time, James Fairman Fielder, refused to call out the National Guard. Luckily, Sheriff Kincaid spoke to the strikers on the 24th, making peace and restoring order. A total of 130 plant guards were arrested, with 32 guards and the general superintendent of the Tidewater plant being arrested on a charge of inciting to riot. The sale of the socialist newspaper, the New York Call, was banned. Frank Tannenbaum was arrested by local officials. On the 28th, the strikers returned to work on promises of increased pay and the institution of an 8-hour day, which were kept by September. 5 strikers had been killed altogether. The next year, starting on October 3rd, Standard Oil workers went on strike again, protesting for increased wages. Only 36 workers in the paraffin department caused thousands of other workers to join the protest. A charge against police lines on the 10th caused 3 policemen and 8 workmen to be shot and wounded. The next day, a mob of 500 besieged police headquarters and looted salons for liquor. 7 people were shot the next day, including a woman fatally wounded as she looked out of her second-story window. Organized police action on the 13th suppressed the mob. On October 19th, the strike ended with the strikers returning to work and no concessions being given. The casualties of the 1916 strike were 4 dead and 34 wounded, 11 being seriously wounded. And with that, the Bayonne Refinery Strikes were over. The Standard Oil Company had long been a target of public criticism, and its handling of the strike only intensified it. Following the strikes, John Jr., Rockefeller's son, decided to no longer rely on a critical stance towards labor. He said himself, "Whenever it shows its head, hit it," which, as you can expect, did not improve the company's reputation. John Jr. hired Clarence Hicks, who instituted a sweeping plan of employee benefits, like a pension plan. However, some workers recognized the intent of tying workers to the company and preventing strike action by including pension provisions that would penalize strike activity. So what happened to everyone after? Standard Oil of New Jersey eventually became the Exxon Corporation in 1972 and merged with Mobil Oil Corporation in 1998 to become Exxon Mobil. After the strikes, Frank Tannenbaum abandoned his youthful radicalism and became a professor at Columbia University. He passed away in 1969. Eugene Kincaid stayed sheriff of Hudson County until 1917. He was commissioned Major of the Military Intelligence Division of the American Forces during World War I and passed away in 1960. John Jr. went on to do rich people stuff, like develop Rockefeller Center in Midtown Manhattan. Later in his life, he was known for his philanthropy, and he also passed away in 1960. And while the workers got some benefits, it would take decades and many more strikes for the labor movement in America to finally bring about meaningful change. So what do we learn from all this? Is it the fact that corporations are evil and don't give their workers fair treatment? Is it the lesson that if you keep fighting for something and never give up, you'll eventually get it? Or is it that you shouldn't use violent tactics against people who are protesting for something good? Whatever you've learned from this, or even if you haven't learned anything at all, I hope you enjoyed this documentary. Happy National History Day.